What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another ranking. With the release of Terminator Dark Fate, the 6th film in the Terminator franchise, it's time for me to give you guys my ranking for all 6 Terminator movies, from worst to best. This franchise is a mixed bag overall, with timeline issues and great movies and awful films in this franchise. It's time for me to give you guys my personal favorite films in this series. Before I give you guys my list, be sure to leave your list down below in the comment section. If you haven't seen Terminator Dark Fate yet, then leave the Terminator films that you've seen. This is a subjective list. This is not the right list overall. This is just what I think, my own personal opinions, and all film is subjective here on YouTube, so please respect that in the comment section. Without further ado, let's begin. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Terminator Genisys. This movie is a sequel to the franchise, a reboot. What even is this movie? Came out in 2015, directed by Alan Taylor, who directed some of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. This movie was a hot pile of mess. It completely ruined the Terminator franchise. It obliterated the timeline. It just makes no sense now. When does this movie take place? After Terminator 1? Terminator 2? I really like the cast members in this movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Emilia Clarke, Jason Clarke, and I don't really like Jai Courtney. Him as Kyle Reese added such bland personality to a lead role. Emilia Clarke as well felt really miscast as Sarah Connor. It felt like it was going to go in the direction of Terminator 1, but it does something completely different by making Sarah Connor already a badass, being trained by the T-800 Arnold. And so there's 2 different timelines jumbled in this film. Spoiler warning, just in case if you haven't seen this movie, John Connor in this movie, turning him into a Skynet villain in this film was really dumb. He was just way too cartoonish. The CGI in this movie is unforgivable. Like, the T-1000 and John Connor scenes looked like a PS2 video game. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, the 3rd Terminator film. This movie, I never really liked it, if I'm being completely honest. This was a mixed, divisive film in the franchise. This was supposedly the first Terminator film that had a separate timeline from T1 and 2. We have Nick Stahl now as John Connor, and yes, he's the leader of the Resistance who was meant to save the world, and then Claire Danes is also in the film. Arnold returns once again as the T-800. The action in this movie looks god-awful. That fight scene between Arnold and the T-X in the bathroom, some of the worst special effects I have ever seen and look completely dated to this day. The car chases felt really shaky cam, and the storyline just felt really muddy. Another John Connor that is soulless in this film. Nick Stahl really didn't add any charisma. Claire Danes as well, I didn't buy the romance at all. And Arnold as the T-800 wasn't as intimidating or memorable as in the first 2 films. The tone for this movie really feels like a straight-to-DVD release for a Terminator film, and it just doesn't feel that nostalgic or memorable of a film to rewatch for me. So, Rise of the Machines is not the best movie. At number 4 is going to be the film that a lot of people consider to be the worst over Genisys, but I don't personally. That is Terminator Salvation. I really like Christian Bale as John Connor. He really saves this whole movie from being a complete train wreck of a Terminator film. I was really bored throughout the movie, but whenever Christian Bale popped on screen, it really worked for me. I really like his charisma as John Connor, but Sam Worthington, on the other hand, was really boring in this movie. They really tried to add a storyline and a character arc for his character in the film. He starts off as this machine who is meant to be working for Skynet, but he wants to work on John Connor's side with the humans, but there's this romance between him and this other girl, and it really doesn't fit well. This movie is so long and boring. I mean, it wasn't long, but it felt like it was 2.5 hours long. I nearly fell asleep in this movie for about 10 minutes because the plot is very boring, the action is sloppy and uninteresting, But whenever Christian Bale, as I said, is on that screen, it saves it for me, and why I put it over Genisys and Rise of the Machines. Coming in at number 3 is going to be the newly released Terminator Dark Fate. I saw this movie last night. My spoiler-free review is on my channel right now, so go check that out. I surprisingly enjoyed Terminator Dark Fate, a Terminator movie that I actually enjoyed that wasn't the first two. This movie is not amazing or anything, it's not a masterpiece, but Tim Miller did a really solid job bringing the Terminator franchise back on wheels. I really love the performances from Mackenzie Davis, Natalia Reyes, Gabriel Luna, and of course Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor and Arnold back as the T-800. It has a cool villain and it just feels like a lot of fun. However, the script was not good and some of the CGI looked very dated. I won't talk much more about this because I did do a review. If you want to hear my full-on thoughts, go check my review out on the channel. But overall, I really enjoyed Terminator Dark Fate. It's not perfect, but hey, it's by far the best Terminator film since the second one. Alright, you guys obviously know what the top 2 are, but which one is my favorite? Let's get to that. Coming in at number 2 is gonna be The Terminator, which came out in 1984. This is a classic slasher film, like a straight up horror movie. The first Terminator really introduced the character of the T-800, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. This was a great performance from him because he was a villain in this first Terminator film. Of course, Arnold is sent from the future to kill Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. And Sarah Connor in this movie, of course, was very weak and helpless, and she is being saved by Kyle Reese in this movie. And Kyle and Sarah's relationship was really great in this first Terminator film. James Cameron just knocked it out of the park with this first Terminator movie, and if you really consider this to be your favorite, I don't blame you, because it's one of the best sci-fi films and horror films ever made, and it's just a timeless classic that I have rewatched many times possible. And of course, the one-liners in this movie, I'll be back. But coming in at number 1 for me is easily Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Hasta la vista, baby. I freaking love this movie to death. I watch this movie every single year. This movie makes me cry every single time I watch it. It makes me pumped up to shit every time I watch it. Arnold Schwarzenegger is back as the T-800, except this time, cool little twist, he's actually sent to help John Connor, played excellently by Edward Furlong. And it introduces one of the best villains of all time, the T-1000, played by Robert Patrick. Such an intimidating villain. The look of him is scary, but he just doesn't look intimidating. A police officer looking guy who has liquid metal coming out of him. He can throw knives and swords at people. That soda machine scene is my favorite by far of the T-1000. I love the freezing scene. The truck, motorcycle, and bike scene is my favorite action scene in the film. The hasta la vista baby moment is great. And just these small human moments between Arnie and Edward Furlong really get to me. And that ending is just perfect. It's earned. When he puts his hand up in the fire and dies, it's just so sad to watch. Like, I felt emotional when a robot died. Like, that is class A filmmaking from you, James Cameron. And Terminator 2, without a doubt, is my favorite Terminator film. There you have it, guys. That was my personal ranking for all 6 Terminator movies. Again, guys, let me know your ranking down below in the comment section, and if you agree or disagree with my list. Thank you guys, as always, for watching this ranking. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.